Welcome back to Bargirl Baddies. Today's story is a bit different. It's not about romance scams or bar girls or money lost to a beautiful smile. It's about something more subtle, something that happens to the travellers who think they're above all that, the ones who've done their research, learned the language basics, read the cultural guides, the ones who arrive thinking they understand. Meet Jake Morrison, 28 years old from Melbourne, Australia. Yoga instructor, digital nomad, self-described conscious traveller. He'd backpacked through 15 countries before Thailand. He had Thai friends back home. He'd watched hundreds of hours of language tutorials, read books on Buddhism, practiced meditation for years. He thought he was ready. He thought he was different from those other expats, the ones who never leave their bubble, who treat Thailand like an extended holiday from reality. Jake thought he could handle the culture shock. He thought his good intentions, his respect, his genuine desire to integrate would be enough. Thailand had other plans. This is the story of how a culture he thought he understood humbled him in ways he never saw coming, and how the most painful lessons are the ones that shatter your image of yourself. If you're watching from somewhere you once thought you understood, drop a comment below. If you've ever been that person who had to learn the hard way that reading about a place and actually living in it are two completely different things, hit that like button. And if you've got your own story of cultural humility, we want to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't already, because these stories, uncomfortable as they are the ones we all need to hear. Now let me hand this over to Jake. He sent us his story about 6 months after everything fell apart. He's still in Thailand, by the way, still learning. Here's what he wanted to share. I need to start by telling you who I thought I was, because that's the whole bloody problem, isn't it? I thought I was one of the good ones. Back in Melbourne, I was working in marketing for a startup, doing the whole grind thing. 50, 60-hour weeks in a converted warehouse in Collingwood, standing desks and kombucha on tap, and everyone pretending they loved the hustle. I was good at it too. Good at the social media campaigns, good at understanding what people wanted to hear. But I was hollow, you know? I'd wake up at 6 to do yoga before work, meditate on the tram, read books about mindfulness, and feel absolutely nothing. My girlfriend at the time, Emma, she could see it. She'd ask me what I wanted from life, and I'd just stare at her because I genuinely didn't know. I had the career, the flat in Fitzroy, the friends, the hobbies. On paper, everything looked great. Inside, I felt like I was sleepwalking. That's when I started getting into Buddhism. Properly into it, not just the Western wellness version. I found this Thai temple in Footscray, started going to meditation sessions on Wednesday nights. The monks there were kind, patient with my terrible attempts at Thai phrases. I'd stay after for tea, ask them about the Dharma, about Thailand, about what it meant to live a conscious life. One of them, Fra Arnon, he was maybe 40, had this calm about him that I desperately wanted to understand. He'd been a software engineer in Bangkok before ordaining. We'd talk about the trap of modern life, the illusion of progress, the peace that comes from letting go. And slowly, over about 8 months, an idea formed. What if I just left? What if I sold everything, bought a one-way ticket, and went to actually live in Thailand? Not as a tourist, not as a drunk expat in Pattaya, but as someone who genuinely wanted to learn, to integrate, to understand the culture from the inside. Emma thought I was having a breakdown. My parents thought I was throwing my career away. My mates thought it was a phase. But I felt more certain about this than I'd felt about anything in years. I wasn't running away. I was running towards something real. I spent those 8 months preparing. I wasn't going to be one of those ignorant Farangs who shows up entitled and clueless. I learned basic Thai, got past hello and thank you, could manage simple conversations about food and directions. I read books about Thai history, culture, the concept of face, the social hierarchies, the royal family, the Buddhism that underpinned everything. I knew about the why, the proper greeting. I knew you don't point your feet at people or Buddha images. I knew you take your shoes off. I knew about Kreng Jai, this idea of being considerate and not imposing on others. I watched vlogs from long-term expats. I followed Thai Instagram accounts. I even started a blog called Conscious Wandering, where I wrote about authentic travel, about moving through the world with respect and humility. I had 700 followers by the time I left, mostly other people dreaming of escape. The plan was simple. I'd go to Chiang Mai, the digital nomad capital, but I wouldn't stay in the expat bubble. I find local accommodation, not some Western-style apartment complex. I'd teach English part-time at a real Thai school, not one of those tourist mills. I'd volunteer, make Thai friends, learn the language properly. I'd live on a Thai budget, eat Thai food, shop at Thai markets. I'd do it right. I sold everything I owned except what fit in a 40-litre backpack. Ended things with Emma properly. No trailing threads. Said goodbye to the startup with zero regrets. In October, I boarded a flight from Melbourne to Chiang Mai via Bangkok, and I felt like my real life was finally starting. I thought I was ready. I had no idea I was about to become exactly the kind of foreigner I'd promised myself I'd never be. The first few weeks in Chiang Mai felt like proof I'd made the right choice. Everything had this golden quality to it, like the whole city was shot through a warm filter. I found a guest house in the Niman area through a local Facebook group, not one of the places marketed to foreigners. It was run by this woman, Pai Nok, probably in her 50s, who spoke minimal English and had this quick, efficient way about her. The room was simple. Fan, not aircon. Squat toilet, thin walls, 2,000 baht a month, about 90 Australian dollars. Perfect. Pai Nok seemed pleased I could speak a bit of Thai. I'd bow properly, weigh her every morning, ask about her day. She'd smile, nod, sometimes bring me fruit she said was too ripe for her to sell at her sister's market stall. I thought we were building a relationship. I thought I was doing it right. Mornings I'd wake at dawn to the sound of motorbikes and roosters, walk to the end of the swar to watch the monks do their alms rounds. There's something profound about seeing that ritual every morning. The orange robes bright against the grey concrete, the silent exchange between monks and locals. I'd buy sticky rice from a vendor and offer it myself, trying to do the way properly, keeping my head lower than the monks. I'd have coffee at a local shop, not Ristresato or one of the hipster places, but a proper Thai place where they'd look surprised to see a farang. I'd order in Thai, point at what the locals were eating. The coffee was so sweet it made my teeth hurt, but I drank it anyway. This was authentic. This was real. I spent the first 2 weeks walking everywhere, getting lost on purpose, figuring out the city beyond the tourist maps. I'd stop at temples, sit in the back, watch people pray. I went to Warok Market and practiced bargaining in Thai, probably paying too much but having real interactions. I ate at shophouse restaurants where I was the only Westerner, pointing at dishes I couldn't name, discovering flavours I'd never imagined. And everyone was so friendly. That's what got me. The smiles, the helpfulness, the way people would go out of their way to help when I was lost or confused. I'd read about Thai hospitality, but experiencing it felt like being wrapped in warmth. I thought I was seeing the real Thailand, the one tourists miss. 3 weeks in, I got a job. Not at one of the big international schools, but at a small local English centre in a residential area off Huai Kayu Road. The place was called Bright Future English, run by a man named Ajahn Somchai, who had to be 60 if he was a day. Thin, quiet, always in a polo shirt and pressed trousers. The kind of Thai man who emanated dignity and command without ever raising his voice. The interview was brief. He asked about my experience, my education, my intentions in Thailand. I told him I wanted to really understand Thai culture, that I wasn't here to party or take advantage, that I wanted to give back. He nodded slowly, and I felt like I'd passed some test. He hired me on the spot, 25,000 baht a month, about 1,100 Australian, for 20 hours of teaching a week, more than enough to live on if you live like a local, which I planned to do. The teaching staff was small. There was Ploy, a Thai woman about my age, maybe 27, who taught the younger kids. She had this gentle way about her, soft-spoken, always smiling. There was James, a British guy in his mid-30s who'd been in Thailand for 8 years, teaching English the whole time. He had that expat tan, that slightly rumpled look of someone who'd gone native but not quite. And there was Niron, the administrator, 32, Thai Chinese, who handled scheduling and parent communications. His English was excellent, nearly accent-free. My first day teaching, I was nervous but excited. I had a class of 12 teenagers, mixed levels, preparing for university exams. I prepared this whole lesson plan about conversational English, getting them to actually talk rather than just memorize grammar rules. They were shy at first, but I could see them warming up, trying out sentences, laughing at mistakes. After class, Ploy was in the teacher's room preparing her materials. I was buzzing with energy, wanted to share ideas. I suggested maybe we could coordinate our teaching methods, do some team teaching, really create a consistent program for the students. I said her kids would probably benefit from more conversation practice too, less rote memorization. She smiled, nodded. Yes, very good idea, Car. That little particle at the end, car for women, crap for men, the mark of Thai politeness. I've got some materials I could share, I continued. Some games and activities that really get students talking. Would you want to maybe grab lunch sometime and go through them? Yes, maybe, Car. Still smiling. I'm very busy, but maybe. James wandered in then, probably overheard the end. He caught my eye, gave me this look I couldn't quite read. Later, when Ploy had left, he leaned against the desk. Mate, you might want to ease up a bit. What do you mean? Just, Thai teachers have their methods. They've been doing this a while. Probably don't need a new teacher coming in with suggestions on day one. I felt defensive. I wasn't trying to criticize. I was just offering to help, to collaborate. I know, just different culture, yeah? People are polite. They'll smile and agree with you to be nice. Doesn't always mean what you think it means. I didn't really understand what he was getting at. I'd been polite. I'd framed everything as suggestions, not demands. I was trying to be helpful, collaborative. If anything, I thought I was being culturally sensitive by offering to work together rather than just doing my own thing. That should have been my first real clue. That moment, right there. But I didn't see it. I thought James was just jaded, burned out from too many years teaching English in a foreign country. I thought I knew better. That was the whole problem. I thought I knew better, and Thailand was about to spend the next several months systematically destroying that assumption, piece by piece, until there was nothing left but the humbling truth of how little I actually understood. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That first month, I still felt like I was winning, like I'd cracked the code that other expats missed. I had no idea I was about to become a case study in everything you can do wrong while thinking you're doing everything right. The thing about confidence is that it feels like clarity. That second month in Chiang Mai, I felt like I was finally finding my rhythm. I'd wake up, teach my classes, explore the city, work on my blog at coffee shops. I was living the dream I'd imagined back in that Melbourne office. And because everything felt good, because I was comfortable, I started to relax into being myself. That's when the real mistake started. At Bright Future, I settled into the routine. Morning classes with the teenagers, afternoon sessions with adult learners preparing for TOEFL exams. I was a good teacher, I really was. My students improved. They started speaking more freely, their pronunciation got better. Parents would smile at me in the hallway, give me little wastes of appreciation. That feedback felt like proof I was doing something right. But the teaching methods at the school started to frustrate me. We had these weekly staff meetings, just the 5 of us sitting around a table in Ajahn Somchai's office, discussing schedules and student progress. Ploy and the other Thai teachers would share their approaches, and it was all grammar drills, memorization, textbook exercises. The students were bored. I could see it. They needed more interaction, more real conversation practice. So I started offering suggestions. Always politely. Always framing it as ideas, not criticism. Maybe we could introduce more group work. Get the students actually talking to each other in English. Nods around the table. Yes, good idea, Crab. What if we did a weekly conversation club? Just informal, students could practice real-world English. More nods. Interesting, K, we think about. The textbooks we're using are pretty outdated. There are better resources available online, more engaging materials. I could put together some options. Ajahn Somchai would smile thinly. We used these books many years, students familiar with them. Right. But if we want the students to actually improve their conversational skills, we discuss later, K. Ploy's voice, soft but final, and nothing would ever change. The next week, same methods, same textbooks, same grammar drills, like I hadn't said anything at all. It drove me mental. Here I was, offering genuine improvements, backed by modern teaching theory, and everyone just smiled and ignored me. I vent about it in my journal, write blog posts about the resistance to change I was encountering, frame it as an interesting cultural observation about traditional versus progressive education methods. James would just shake his head when I complain. Mate, you're doing it again. Doing what? Trying to help? Thinking you know better after 2 months than people who've been doing this for 20 years. But I do know better about this. I've got actual training in modern ESL methods. They're using techniques from the 80s. Maybe that's not the point. I didn't understand what he meant. Still don't think James was entirely right, to be honest, but I wasn't seeing the bigger picture. I thought the problem was that they wouldn't listen to good ideas. The real problem was that I thought my ideas were automatically good because they came from me, from my Western education, from my progressive values. I got closer with Niran during this time. His English was good enough that we could have actual conversations, not just the basic exchanges I managed in Thai. We started grabbing beers after work, sometimes at a local place near his condo, nothing fancy. Plastic chairs and Chang beer and skewers of grilled pork. He'd laugh at my Thai attempts, teach me new phrases, explain things about Thailand I was curious about. I felt like I'd made a real Thai friend. Someone I could be honest with. I'd tell him about my frustrations with the school. Why won't Ajahn Somchai even consider updating the curriculum? It's not like I'm asking for anything radical. Niran would laugh, sip his beer. Somchai very traditional, he not like change. But it's not about tradition. It's about what works. The students would learn faster with better methods. Maybe. He'd shrug, change the subject. You try the larb yet? Very spicy, but very good. I thought he was just being diplomatic. I didn't realize he was trying to warn me in his way. Outside of work, I was building what I thought was a real life in Chiang Mai. I'd found a group that did twice weekly Thai language exchanges at a cafe in Santitam. Half the time in English, half in Thai, everyone helping each other learn. I met Thais my age there, university students and young professionals. We'd go out after for drinks sometimes, to night markets, to live music venues. I was documenting all of this on my blog. Conscious Wandering was growing, up to about 1,500 followers. I'd write about the real Thailand I was discovering, not the sanitized tourist version. I posted about inequality I was seeing, the wealth gap between rich Thais and the working class. I wrote about political issues I was learning about, corruption, the complicated relationship with the monarchy. I framed it all very carefully, with empathy and concern, always emphasizing that I was trying to understand, not judge. Some of my Thai followers started unfollowing. A few left comments that confused me. Farang should not talk about Thai politics. You do not understand, not appropriate. I found them overly sensitive. I wasn't being disrespectful. I was engaging critically with the culture, which I thought showed deep respect. Better than those tourists who just wanted beaches and pad Thai. Looking back now, Jesus, the arrogance, the absolute blind arrogance. 3 months in, I started seeing someone, Fa. She was 29, worked in marketing at a hotel, came to the language exchange, pretty in that understated Thai way, always dressed nicely, had this quick laugh. We started meeting separately from the group, getting dinner, going to the cinema. It felt easy, natural. Except it wasn't. It really, really wasn't. I'd correct her English, constantly, not meanly, just helpfully. She'd say something and I'd gently give her the right way to phrase it. I'd explain idioms she didn't understand. When she'd ask me about Australian culture, I'd turn it into a lesson, over-explaining everything like she was one of my students. And I'd use her as a cultural informant, ask her to explain Thai customs I didn't understand, why people did certain things, what certain phrases meant. I thought I was showing interest in her culture. I was treating her like a resource, not a person. Like her value to me was in teaching me about Thailand. We lasted 2 weeks before she ended it. Messaged me saying she was too busy for dating, that it wasn't working out. Very polite, very brief. I was confused more than hurt. It had seemed to be going well. A week later, I ran into one of the women from the language exchange, Sophie, an American who'd been in Thailand for 3 years. We got to talking, and your Fa came up. Yeah, she mentioned you guys went out a few times, Sophie said. It just kind of fizzled. She got busy with work. Sophie gave me this look. Jake, can I be honest with you? Of course. Fa told me you were. Kind of exhausting. That you were always correcting her, always explaining things to her like she was a student. That you'd ask her to translate things for you in public. Use her to help you navigate situations. She felt like a tool, not a date. The words hit like cold water. I was just trying to learn, to engage with the culture. I know. But she's a person, not a cultural ambassador. and constantly correcting someone's English when you're supposed to be on a date. That's pretty condescending, mate. I wanted to argue, wanted to explain that I'd been trying to help her improve, that mutual learning was part of cultural exchange. But something in Sophie's expression stopped me. Pity, maybe, or recognition of something I couldn't yet see in myself. I didn't mean it like that, I said finally. I know. That's kind of the problem. That conversation stuck with me, itched at the back of my mind. But I didn't really process it. I told myself Far was oversensitive, that Sophie didn't understand my intentions. I moved on. At the guest house, I'd been trying to be helpful to Pai Nok. She was always so busy, running between her sister's market stall and managing the guest house and taking care of her grandson. One day, when she was out, I noticed her storage room was a complete mess. Boxes everywhere, stuff piled haphazardly, no organisation. I spent 3 hours reorganising it. Grouped similar items together, made everything accessible, created a logical system. I was proud of it. When she came back, I showed her excitedly, explaining in my broken Thai how I'd organised everything. Her face did something strange, smile frozen, eyes unreadable. "Thank you, Car," said so quietly I almost didn't hear it. "I hope it helps," I said. "I noticed you always searching for things, so I thought." "Very kind, Car. Thank you." But after that, she was different with me, more formal. She stopped bringing me fruit. Our morning exchanges became briefer. I didn't understand what I'd done wrong. I'd helped her. I'd saved her time. I'd done a good thing. The pattern was there. I just couldn't see it yet. Or wouldn't. Back at Bright Future, things came to a head in early December. We had a staff meeting where Ajahn Somchai announced he was implementing a new attendance policy. Students who missed more than 3 classes would need to pay a make-up fee. It seemed reasonable enough, but I had concerns. "What about students who are genuinely sick?" I asked. "Seems harsh to charge them." "Parents can bring doctor note," Ajahn Somchai said. "But what if they can't afford the doctor visit? Some of our students are from working-class families. Policy is policy." Something in his dismissive tone bothered me. This was about money, not education. "With respect, Ajahn, this policy might hurt the students who need us most. What if instead we had a sliding scale, or we offered makeup classes online?" The room went very quiet. Poi was staring at her notebook. Niran shifted in his chair. James had his eyes closed like he was praying. Ajahn Somchai looked at me for a long moment. His expression didn't change, but something in the air did. "Thank you for idea. We keep original plan. I just think we should consider..." Meeting finished. He stood up, walked out. I looked around at the others. Was it something I said? James rubbed his face. "Mate, you just questioned him, in front of everyone, challenged his authority, made him look bad." I was offering an alternative perspective. That's how decisions should be made, with input. "Not here, not like that." Ploy gathered her things quickly, left without making eye contact. Niran lingered. Seemed like he wanted to say something but just shook his head and followed her out. I sat there confused and frustrated. I'd been respectful. I'd said, "with respect," right there in the sentence. I'd offered constructive alternatives. What the hell had I done wrong? That week, my teaching schedule got changed, moved to the less desirable time slots given the lower level classes. When I tried to ask Ajahn Somchai about it, he was busy. Always busy. Couldn't meet. The following week, just before Christmas, I got called into his office. He sat behind his desk, hands folded, face neutral. "Jake, we need to discuss your contract." My stomach dropped. "Okay. Your contract is through end of February. We will not renew." The words didn't make sense at first. What? Why? My students are doing well. I'm getting good feedback. Your teaching is adequate, but you are not good fit for school culture. I don't understand. What have I done? You have many opinions, many suggestions. You question decisions. You make uncomfortable situations. I'm trying to help improve things. That's a good thing, isn't it? His expression hardened, just slightly. We do not need your improvement. We run successful school for 20 years before you arrive. The dismissal in his voice, the coldness. It was like being slapped. So that's it? You're just not renewing because I offered ideas. You may finish your contract, but better if you find new position. I wanted to argue, wanted to demand specifics, examples, evidence. The look on his face stopped me. This wasn't a negotiation. It wasn't even a conversation. It was an announcement. I left his office in a daze. Found James smoking outside, even though it was barely 9 in the morning. He sacked me, I said. Well, not renewing my contract. James nodded slowly. Saw that coming, to be honest. How? Why? I'm a good teacher. You are. But you're also a pain in the arse, mate. You've been here 3 months and you've questioned everything, offered opinions on everything, made suggestions about everything. You've embarrassed Pisomchai more than once. You made Ploy lose face. You've basically told everyone their way of doing things is wrong. That's not what I was doing. That's exactly what you were doing. You just couldn't see it because you wrapped it in politeness and good intentions. I felt sick. I was trying to help. I know, that's the problem. You think helping means fixing. You think respect means being honest and direct. But that's not how it works here. And everyone's been too polite to tell you until Pisomchai finally had enough. That afternoon I met Niran for beers. I was still reeling, trying to make sense of what had happened. He listened while I explained, nursed his chang, looked uncomfortable. Tell me the truth, I said finally. What did I do wrong? He was quiet for a long time. Then he sighed. You want real answer? Yes. Please. Okay. You embarrass Pisomchai in front of everyone many times. Every meeting you have better idea. Every decision you know better way. In Thai culture, teacher is very important. We respect teacher, respect elder, respect boss. You make him look like he not know what he doing in front of his staff, in his own school. The words landed like punches. I didn't mean, I know, but it not matter what you mean, matter what you do, you make Ploy lose face too. Tell her teaching method wrong. She teach here 5 years. Very good teacher, students love her. But you come, 2 months, tell her she doing it wrong, in front of other teachers. I was offering to collaborate. No. You offering to fix her. Big difference. He took a long drink. You do same with Pinok. Go in her storage. Change everything. Not ask permission. Her house, her things. But you know better, so you fix it. Each example was a knife. I was trying to help. Yes. This is problem. You always trying to help. But we not ask for help. We not want fix. You come to Thailand. You think you understand because you read books. You learn little Thai. You practice why. But you don't understand. You still think like Farang. You think your way is better. You think we need you to improve us. That's not fair. Maybe not fair. But it true. He looked at me, and there was something like sympathy in his eyes. You nice person, Jake. Good heart. But you act like teacher to us, not friend. Like we a student, and you no answer. We just smile, try to ignore. But you keep doing. So now Pisomchai say enough. I sat there in that plastic chair, traffic roaring past, the smell of grilled meat and exhaust, and something inside me cracked. Because he was right. I knew he was right. Every example he gave, I thought I was being helpful, thoughtful, engaged. But I'd been doing exactly what I promised myself I wouldn't do. I'd been treating Thailand like a place that needed my improvements. Thai people like students who needed my guidance. I'd come here thinking I was different, thinking I was one of the good ones. But I've been exactly the same as every other arrogant Western expat, just with better vocabulary and a meditation practice. I fucked up, I said quietly. Yes, but now you know, that's something. It wasn't enough, not nearly enough. But it was a start, the painful, humiliating start of actually understanding what I should have known all along. I was the problem. I'd been the problem the entire time. The days after that conversation with Niran were some of the worst I've had. Not because anything dramatic happened. There was no big blow-up, no confrontation. Just this slow, creeping realization spreading through everything like ink in water. I started seeing it everywhere. Every interaction I'd thought was genuine, every relationship I'd thought I was building, none of it was what I believed. Pinok hadn't been warming up to me in those first weeks. She'd been polite. And when I reorganized her storage room without asking, I hadn't helped her. I'd invaded her space, rearranged her home according to my logic, my system, my way of doing things. The fruit she'd stopped bringing wasn't because she was busy. It was because I'd crossed a boundary and she was withdrawing to something more formal, more distant. Safer. The Thai people at the language exchange who'd stopped inviting me out, I'd thought they'd just gotten busy, that our schedules didn't line up. But I remembered now the way conversations would pause when I arrived, how I dominated discussions, explaining Australian politics or Western philosophy like I was giving a lecture, how I'd offer opinions on Thai social issues, critique things I didn't like, all while thinking I was engaging in meaningful cultural exchange. I went back through my blog posts and read the comments I'd dismissed, Thai readers trying gently to tell me I was overstepping. "You are guest in Thailand, should not speak about politics. This is not appropriate for foreigner to say. You do not understand the context." I'd written them off as people who couldn't handle honest dialogue. The arrogance of it made me sick. One commenter had written, "You come to Thailand and immediately think you know better than Thai people about Thailand. Why you think you are expert after 2 months?" I'd responded with something about how outside perspectives can be valuable, how constructive criticism helps societies grow. Christ, I'd actually written that, told the Thai person that their society needed my constructive criticism to grow far. I thought about her constantly, that sinking feeling of understanding too late what I'd done. I'd treated our dates like cross-cultural education sessions. I was the teacher, she was the student. Her English wasn't perfect, so I'd help her improve. Her culture was different, so she'd help me understand it. Everything transactional. Everything centered on my learning, my growth, my experience. I'd never once just enjoyed her company, never just been present with her as a person. She was a doorway to Thailand, not a human being I was getting to know. The shame was physical. I'd lie awake in that room with the fan cutting through humid air and feel it in my chest, heavy and hot. All those moments I'd thought I was being respectful, culturally aware, conscious. I'd just been performing a more sophisticated version of the same colonial shit. The white savior with better vocabulary. I tried to apologize to Ajahn Somchai. That went about as well as you'd expect. I caught him in his office one afternoon, asked if we could talk. He was polite, formal, gestured for me to sit. "I wanted to apologize," I started. "I've realized I was disrespectful. I shouldn't have questioned your decisions in meetings. I shouldn't have offered so many unsolicited opinions. I'm sorry." He nodded, said nothing. I was trying to be helpful, but I understand now that I was actually being arrogant. I wasn't respecting your experience or your authority. I'm sorry for that. Still nothing. Just watching me with that neutral expression, I kept talking, couldn't help myself, explained my intentions, my thought process, how I'd been wrong. Basically did exactly what you shouldn't do, which is make an apology about yourself, about your feelings and your learning. Turned my apology into another moment of centering myself. When I finally stopped talking, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, very simply, "Thank you for apologizing. I hope you learn from this experience." That was it. Dismissed. And I'd somehow made it worse by trying to fix it. Even my apology was about me. I stopped going to the language exchange, deleted my blog. Couldn't stand to look at it. All those posts where I'd performed consciousness while being utterly unconscious. 1,500 people had been reading me cosplay as someone who understood Thailand. The thought made me want to disappear. Christmas came and went. I barely noticed. Spent it alone in my room, too ashamed to reach out to anyone. James invited me to a Christmas dinner some expats were having, but I couldn't face it. Couldn't face being around people who might have heard about me, about how I'd burned out a bright future after 3 months. My contract ran through February, but they didn't give me any classes in January, just paid me to not be there. Ajahn Somchai's way of being kind while making it clear I should move on. I spent those weeks applying to other schools, finally landing something at one of the big commercial language mills that catered to tourists and business people. The kind of place I'd looked down on when I first arrived. Thought it wasn't authentic enough, wasn't real teaching. The irony wasn't lost on me. I moved out of Pine Knox guest house, found a studio apartment in a concrete building full of other foreigners, aircon and Western-style bathroom and zero charm. It cost twice as much, but I couldn't stay there, couldn't keep seeing her polite distance every morning, reminder of what I'd done. The new job started in March. Teaching business English to hotel staff, conversational classes for tourists who wanted to learn some Thai. It was fine. Impersonal. I showed up, did my job, went home, didn't offer suggestions, didn't try to improve anything, just followed their curriculum, taught the classes, collected my pay. But something shifted in me during those months. I started actually observing instead of evaluating, Started watching how people interacted without immediately forming opinions about it. Started listening to what Thais told me without filtering it through what I thought I already knew. I learned about bunkun, the concept of gratitude and indebtedness that runs through Thai relationships. How, when someone does something for you, you carry that debt, and the relationship is defined by that exchange. I'd been taking Pinoc's fruit, her kindness, and giving nothing back except my uninvited help. I'd violated the reciprocity. I learned about Greng Jai, the reluctance to impose or cause trouble. How Thai people will go to extraordinary lengths to avoid burdening others or creating awkwardness. All those times people had smiled and said, yes, yes to my suggestions. They've been trying to preserve harmony, avoid confrontation, and I'd mistaken their kindness for agreement. I learned that when Thais criticize or give feedback, it's done so subtly, so gently, that if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it entirely. James had tried to warn me, Niren had tried to redirect me, even Far had probably dropped hints I'd been too dense to catch. They'd all tried. I just hadn't been listening. I spent a lot of time with James during this period. He'd survived his own disasters in his first year apparently, got drunk at a school function, and insulted a parent who turned out to be a local official, had a loud public argument with a girlfriend that made everyone uncomfortable, wore shorts to a temple. Everyone fucks up, he told me over beers one night. The difference is whether you double down or shut up and learn. Most expats double down, blame Thailand for being too sensitive, too traditional, too whatever. You've at least figured out the problem was you. Took me long enough. Better late than never, mate. And you're young. You've got time to unfuck yourself. How long did it take you? To stop being a dick? About 3 years. To actually understand Thailand, he laughed. I'll let you know when it happens. I've been here 8 years and I'm still learning how little I understand. That stuck with me. The idea that understanding wasn't something you achieved, it was something you practiced. Forever. And the more you learned, the more you realised how much you'd never grasp, because you'd always be outside it. Always the foreigner. And that was okay. That was appropriate even. I started going to the Thai temple again, the one in Chiang Mai near Suthep, not to learn or grow or document my spiritual journey, just to sit. Be quiet. Let the rituals happen around me without trying to understand them, analyse them, have opinions about them. Just be present in something that wasn't mine, wasn't for me, and be okay with that. Around June, about 8 months after I'd arrived, I ran into Ploy at a cafe in Nimmenhamen. My heart jumped when I saw her. She saw me too, hesitated like she might leave. I walked over. Ploy, hi, would it be okay if I said something? She looked uncertain, but nodded. I want to apologise for how I acted at Bright Future. I was disrespectful to you. I'm sorry. I stopped there. Didn't explain. Didn't justify. Didn't make it about my learning journey. Just apologised and waited. She studied me for a moment. Then something in her face softened, just slightly. You understand now? I'm starting to. I know I hurt you. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, Kay. A small smile, quick but genuine. Good you learn. That was it. She didn't absolve me or tell me it was fine or offer to be friends, just acknowledged the apology and moved on. And somehow that felt like more grace than I deserved. I'm still in Chiang Mai, still teaching English, though I'm at a different school now, a bit better than the tourist mill. I've been here 1 year and 4 months total. My Thai is better, but still pretty shit. I have some friends, mostly other expats, a few Thais I've met through James who are patient with clueless foreigners. I don't blog anymore, don't document my journey or share my insights about Thailand. I've learned that my insights are mostly projections and misunderstandings dressed up as wisdom. When I don't understand something now, I try to sit with not understanding, try to accept that some things aren't for me to get. I still fuck up, still cross boundaries without meaning to, still misread situations. But I catch it faster now. Apologise simpler. Don't centre myself in my own mistakes. Someone asked me recently what I've learned from living in Thailand. I thought about it for a while. Finally said that I've learned how little I actually know. How much confidence is just ignorance in disguise. How the phrase, I thought I could handle it, is usually the setup for a lesson in humility. Thailand didn't break me. It just stripped away the story I'd been telling myself about who I was. Turns out I wasn't the conscious traveller, the culturally aware expat, the good one. I was just another foreigner stumbling through someone else's country, convinced my intentions meant more than my actions. The real growth isn't in understanding Thailand. It's in understanding that I never fully will. And that's not a failure. It's the starting point. The only honest place to begin. I thought I was different. That's what I told myself when I left Melbourne. I'm not like those other expats. I'd done the research. I'd learned the language. I respected the culture. But respect isn't something you perform. It's not something you demonstrate through knowledge or awareness or good intentions. Real respect is accepting that you're always going to be on the outside, that your perspective is limited, that your help might not be helpful, that your voice might not need to be heard. Real respect is shutting up and listening, even when you think you know better, especially when you think you know better. Thailand humbled me. I'm grateful for it. Even though it hurt like hell, even though I lost opportunities and burned bridges and embarrassed myself in ways I still cringe about. Because the person I was when I arrived, with all that confidence and all those opinions, he needed to be humbled. The person I'm becoming is quieter, less certain, more willing to be wrong. It's not comfortable. But it's more honest than anything I was before. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what culture shock actually is when you stop resisting it. Not the discomfort of being foreign, but the discomfort of realizing you were never as understanding as you thought you were. So here's what happened after that first conversation with the monks in Footscray, after those 8 months of preparation, after landing in Chiang Mai thinking I was ready. I discovered I wasn't ready. I'll never be ready. And that's exactly what I needed to learn. Jake's story hits different because he's the kind of traveller we like to think we are. The prepared one, the respectful one, the conscious one. But consciousness without humility is just another form of arrogance. And no amount of research can replace the willingness to admit you don't understand. Thailand doesn't care how many books you've read, or how much Thai you've learned, or how good your intentions are. Thailand will smile politely at your suggestions, nod at your insights, and quietly teach you that you're still just a guest, still just passing through, still just someone who thinks they understand something vast and complex and not built for them. The travellers who succeed aren't the ones who prepare the most. They're the ones who can handle being wrong, who can sit with discomfort, who can be humbled without becoming bitter. Jake learned that lesson the hard way, but he learned it. And he's still there, still trying, still getting it wrong sometimes. But he's not pretending anymore, not performing understanding, just living in his limits and being okay with them. That's the real culture shock. Not adjusting to the differences, but accepting that some differences can never be fully bridged, that being an outsider is permanent, that the best you can do is be a respectful guest who knows their place. If you're planning to live abroad, especially somewhere culturally different from where you're from, write this down. The most important phrase isn't in any language textbook. It's not hello or thank you or where is the bathroom. It's, I don't know, please teach me. And you need to mean it. Not as a strategy, not as a way to seem humble while you're actually fishing for information, but as a genuine acceptance of your own limitations. Because you will mess up. You will offend people without meaning to. You will misunderstand situations. You will hurt feelings. You will make assumptions that turn out to be completely wrong. The question is whether you'll defend yourself or listen, whether you'll double down or grow up. Jake grew up. It took him months and cost him relationships and humiliated him thoroughly. But he did it. And if you're watching this, thinking it could never happen to you, thinking you're too aware, too prepared, too respectful, well, that's exactly what Jake thought too. Drop a comment about your own experiences with culture shock, the real kind, the kind that changes you. Tell us where you're watching from and whether you've ever been that person who had to learn humility the hard way. Hit subscribe if you want more stories like this, the uncomfortable ones, the ones that don't have easy answers or happy endings. Just honest reflections from people who went abroad and discovered themselves in ways they never expected. Thanks for watching, Bargirl Baddies. Remember, the world doesn't need more confident travellers. It needs more humble ones. See you in the next story.